Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at this right here, the Robot Spirits for Anime Gundam GP4 G Gerbera. So this right here I totally forgot about. I'm clearing off the shelves, trying to get everything I got this year done this year so I can have a fresh start for 2024? But yeah, back when I did the last Stardust Memory video, I meant to get around to this, then I ended up getting the Blossom, which I bought this instead of by accident, and then I totally forgot about this. This right here is the Gerbera, like I mentioned, which is one of the coolest Gundam designs around. This is an MSV, a mobile suit variation, meaning this isn't actually from any anime or manga or anything like that. It is just a design, and it is one hell of a design. I'll also mention at this point, if you like this design but you prefer model kits, the Reborn 100 of this is one of my all-time favorite Reborn 100 kits. It's so much better than a lot of that line actually is, and impressed me so much. So if you do want to try this out, you can get this or the Reborn 100 where I got this, and that is through BUYEE, and the link is down there in the description. Now let's get to it. So jumping now into the aesthetics, and as usual with a A.N.I.M.E figure, this looks absolutely fantastic with a lot of nice little bits of detail here and there. First off, I will mention that this is a very unique styled Gundam. The Gerbera right here has a lot of kind of curved aspects that aren't really very Gundam-y, and that really does add to a nice, unique overall aesthetic appearance. Now, I'm not sure in the way that the actual designs worked out over at Sunrise, but in the actual lore of Stardust Memory, this actually never got completed. The Zephyranthus was made instead. This was being developed at the same time, so they scrapped the design. It was then stolen and converted into the Gerbera Tetra that we would have seen in Stardust Memory. So this still has a lot of the aspects we would have seen on that particular mobile suit, just in a very Gundam-y form. I've always been a little bit let down that Bandai's never actually made this kit as a high grade, so if you do want something that's around 1/44th scale-ish, this, at the moment, is your only option, and that's why I have it. So anyway, taking a look at some of the details on this, and I'm both impressed and a little bit let down at the same time. So a lot of what we would expect from the A.N.I.M.E line is here. We've got some nice paint for the kind of reflecty aspects, like the head camera, the eyes, as well as this little sensor section down here. Now, speaking of down here, before I forget to mention it, this little bit right here popped out on me. And same on the other side, and it took so long to get back in. I'm not a big fan of bits popping off on action figures. Model kits I can kind of, understand, but that drove me around the bend. Maybe something goes in there, you can take it out for a reason, I'm not sure. Besides that though, the detailing is quite nice. Got a little bit of a decal up on the knee. Some nice little details up in the shoulder, including what I assume is a thruster right there. Those little bits molded into it. And overall the detail is quite nice. Again, kind of lost on the surface of it because nothing is done to the figure to actually make the details on the white surfaces pop. We do have some nice paint inside of the thrusters. That is every single one of those, so they all look very nice. I did notice a little bit of a nub right there. Not the worst by any means, but overall quite nice. But lost another piece. But what really drives me mad is this has the worst ball joint hips. I mean, they're really not cool. I thought I was making a mistake at first, but anyway, we'll leave that till later on. So now moving on to a size comparison, this comes in at about 13.5 centimeters tall. There it is side by side with the Robot Damashi A.N.I.M.E Zephyranthus full burner. And if you're wondering how big these are beside a high grade Gundam, they are a little bit bigger, but in general will kind of fit in scale wise, but they are a little bit larger in size. So now moving on to the accessories, and in usual A.N.I.M.E style, we've got a whole lot going on in here. That's the big old 3 thrusters for around back. We've got a rack for the hands, we've got the shield, whole bunch of hands, some little bits and pieces, a spare V-fin. Bandai, Gunpla needs that really bad. And there is a bunch of beam effects, the rifle. Now let's get them all attached. So next up in here, we've got these 3 awesome thrusters. The only way to really tell them apart is the central one right here doesn't have a little bit of a cutout. These ones do, and we do have different kind of notches in the ends of the attachment points. So getting these attached is super simple. You can't mix them up because they don't fit in the places they don't fit. You just squeeze them on into the holes just like so, the 2 top and then the 1 down bottom. And what really did kind of shock me about this a little bit is it can stand up fine with these attached into the back. I thought it'd be a bit back heavy, but those big feet hold it up perfectly. and I love this style of Gundam thruster. They don't actually seem to move around on this particular figure, but they do look phenomenal. So next in here we do have two beam sabers, and we have a choice of beam. So first up we've got the standard ones which attach on... Those are not the holding hands. Those are the fists. The fists kind of look like holding hands, but anyway. Speaking of hands, we have an absolute ton of them in here, as well as one of these superb little hand racks that we get with each of these kits. You just kind of, and by kit I mean figure because it's not a kit, and you just pop the hands onto it like so for storage. And once you get all the hands onto it, it looks like that. There is two more hands, they're just attached onto the Gerbera over here. But this makes it so simple to grab the hands that you want when you want them. And these little holes right here means you can attach these onto the racks of other A.N.I.M.E figures so you can keep them all together. Super handy. Swapping the hands in this figure is super simple. You just pop them off like so. They attach via a ball joint. Attach this kind of split double ball joint, which allows you to get a little bit of flexion and extension in the wrist while the hand is attached. And that isn't even including the little bit of ball joint motion you'll get in the hand as well. Once the holding hand is attached, that is what the beam saber looks like attached on. We've got two of these identical beam sabers with beam saber effects. And the beam sabers are nice and vigorous on this particular, I know you said kit again, figure, but they always are, and it's the same beams we would have seen time and time again. So that does mean we also have this one right here that is curved. So you just pop that one in just like so, and it has that really cool slashing effect. Again, there's a lot of notes Bandai Spirits should probably take from Bandai to Machinations, including ripping off some of these effects, and always the double V fin, the second one. It's nice to have a spare. When the beam sabers are not attached, we have a really nice moving segment up beyond the shoulders here that allows you to attach these in. They pull up like so, attaching the beam sabers, and they fold in perfectly. This is some nice beam saber storage. So next up in here we have the beam rifle. So this is one interesting beam rifle, the wire running up along the length. We do have some nice painted in gold parts there for that sight. For whatever reason, we do have multiple handles on this. This one moves side to side, this one also moves side to side, and we do have that one in the middle, which I think is the main handle. Now I'm just looking at this right here, and this little segment down to this little segment right here look like they should do that thing that the Zephyranthus does. Is it beam jute it's called? Where it's kind of like a little beam that comes down and into a kind of beam sabery melee kind of underslung bayonet thing, for the lack of a better term, but there's nothing in here. When it comes to attaching the long-range rifle, you just have to grab one of the trigger fingers and you just pop it like so. There seems to be a lot of ways of attaching this. This seems to be a multiple-use rifle. The way it says in the instructions is actually quite funny. It's to actually pop it up on the shoulder almost like a bazooka using this handle like this. Of course, you can do this in a whole multitude of different ways because we've got a whole bunch of different handles. You can pop it under the arm like so, just like you would with a normal rifle, and it also shows in the, well, not in the instructions on the back of the box, it being held by the one that has that kind of bicycle or motorbike looking brake on it. So there is a whole lot of ways this can be held onto. Next up in here, we've got the shield. This does have a nice little decal on it, that GP there. Flipping around to the other side, this is also done in grey, which looks incredibly nice. We do have a little bit of a handle here and a little bit of a ball joint socket right there for attaching it onto the arm, and we might as well do just that. Actually, does this slide? Oh, yes we do. We've got a closing and opening mechanism to this as well. That's cool. So when it comes to attaching this onto the arm, we have two different adapters for doing this, which do two different things. First off, we got this short little one. This just pops in simply as so. This is just a kind of linear, directly attached to the arm kind of one. So you can pop it into the rear of the arm like so, and that means you can have it to the side by rotating the arm with the articulation in the arm, or have it around back so you can pull it up like this for those defensive poses. The other option we have in here is at a bit of an angle, attaches in the exact same sort of way. This attaches into the rear of the forearm, but brings the shield around to the side, which is something we see more often than not with Gundam shield equipping Nisses. Also, like we saw already, this can collapse for storage or maybe to keep it out of the way, and that is what it looks like. So next up in here, we've got a couple more effects. Now, this one right here, I almost totally forgot about. This is for using with the beam rifle. So you just pop it into this little cup section like so, and this is a nice shooting effect for posing the Gerbera taking a few blasts with its long rifle. So that is pretty cool. Again, something the model kits really need to rip off. And one thing the model kits really need to rip off are these awesome thruster effects. Now, we've seen on these A.N.I.M.E so many times before that all of the thrusters from the bottom of the feet to there, to those little ones, to those ones right there in the backpack have a little slot into which these can fit. Now, the big old massive thruster sections don't have anything, which is a real letdown. Considering the A.N.I.M.E is known for these kind of unique thruster effect parts, it seems like a little bit of a letdown not to have them on the unique thrusters. But maybe there are some sold separately, because I know there is some Stardust memory option sets out there. But these just attach in by throwing them into the slots, just like that. So now jumping into the articulation, and as usual with these, it's quite solid. I did have the bit fall out earlier on, but it hasn't fallen out since, and everything feels pretty okay. The ball joint hips is definitely a letdown. That doesn't look cool whatsoever. So, well, I guess let's see what we can get out of the pose. So there we go. There it is in the usual pose. And again, the ball joint hips really do let this down. We've got some great articulation in some parts, like the ab crunch is phenomenal. But it's just so let down by the fact that we've got nothing, literally nothing at the hips whatsoever, which would make this infinitely better if it just had standard peg hips instead of those ball joints. What a really, really weird choice. There's other somewhat limited parts like the knee bend right there, but we do get a little bit of a cool sliding mechanism, which is always good too, but a little bit on the disappointing side. Also, I'm not going to go through all the individual joints in this, but I will throw it in a couple of nice poses for the spins so you can see what it pulls off. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and these are almost pretty much the same. They're a very nice collectible line of figures with some awesome little effects in the boxes. There is also the additional sold separately effect part sets to go with the Stardust memory mobile suits that will work with this one too. Again, everything about these is fantastic. I do love them, except the only real letdown here is those ball joint hips. The articulation on this is phenomenal, especially around the torso, the main body. There's a lot going on. But we are super let down by the fact that this has zero essentially outwards at the legs, which always makes it look a little bit wonky. You think you're getting a fantastic pose and it just lets it down in the end. But overall, this does look fantastic. If you want a small scale, almost high grade sized version of the Gundam Gerbera, this is absolutely perfect and will look great up in any Gundam display, Gunpla or otherwise. Anyway, if you don't want one of your own, I got mine through BUYEE, link in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gundam reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, this video right here would not have been possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and all of these awesome people right here who help out on the channel memberships and over on Patreon, including 10 Soldier YT, Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, or G95061, 10 Soldier YT again, and Van Fawn.